My dear people of God, good evening once again. You are welcome to our evening's program, Time with the Youth. This program started barely about 3 weeks ago, and it has been so revealing having time with our youth, to have some discussion with our youth, to see how our youth are faring and what is happening to our youth, especially those at home. This evening's session is going to be a very special one. With me is one young man whom I have known for some years now. He's like a brother to me. I got to know him when I was on pastorals, and we've been like a brothers since then. This gentleman was once an addict. He's proud to say it everywhere. He's not shy about it anymore. But the joy of it is that today he is a recovered addict. And he is also in the process of helping others who are going through something he has been before. And that is one thing I like about him. He's never shy about what he was before, but always proud to talk about what he has become now, and always ready to help others. Today, we're going to have this chat with this brother to see how we can help others, many others out there who are going through this situation, but either are shy to talk about it or cannot come out to say or to even talk about their problem to get a solution. So with me this evening we have Walter. Walter is the name I know, but he will mention his full name, then we'll get to know. Walter, I'm sure they want to know your full name.
Yes, thank you for giving me this audience. I must say, it's a wonderful opportunity. My name is Walter Damien Aswon.
Okay.
And now I'm the manager of a rehabilitation center.
Okay.
So it's only by the grace of God that I have this position, because the same rehabilitation center that I manage, once upon a time I walked in very desperate and emaciated and looking for help. But it's only by the grace of God that I am where I am today. And I'm grateful to God and the people around me.
Good.
Yes.
Walter Damien was once a desperate person in the St. Francis Clinic and Rehabilitation Center. This is a center for the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra that takes care of drug addicts, and has helped in shaping a lot of lives, including that of Walter. Today, Walter is the manager of that rehab center. Let us get to know more about Walter, how life started for him, and how he got into drugs, and now at the center. Walter,
okay.
Just a little bit about you, maybe a little bit of story about you, where you were born,
yes.
To the family, and a little bit
okay.
about you.
So before I get into that, I would like to correct a notion out there.
Okay.
When you were introducing me, you said I am fully recovered.
Okay.
But that is something you don't say back in the rehab where I come
You don't
from.
say fully recovered.
Yes, because recovery is a process, and it is a lifelong process. So that now that I sit here to talk to people about the condition I used to be in and what I am now, I am still in recovery.
Okay.
And I never get fully recovered because the condition I have is chronic. So that you can see it as diabetes. You never get cured.
Okay.
So I'm not recovered. It's just that I have a state of mind and a state of spirit whereby I do maintenance daily, so that to stay where I am. It's like when you put a cork in water, a bowl of water, and you press it to the ground. You need to keep the pressure there. The moment you release the pressure, it comes out.
Wonderful.
So I never get fully recovered. I keep working daily to be where I am now.
So you know about this, and every person must know that you never get fully recovered.
No, you never. You are still recovering. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for recovery.
Wow.
Yes.
So my dear friend, that's the first thing I have learned today, and I'm sure that's the first thing you have also learning, that there's no that like full recovery in a rehab center.
No,
you are always recovering because it's a process.
Yes, it's just that in the rehab you are in a treatment center.
Okay.
But even after you leave the rehab, you need to still apply that discipline in real life.
Okay.
To maintain your spiritual condition. Otherwise, you will relapse and you go back to your old ways. So we are always recovering all the time. I will be 6 years sober or 6 years clean in recovery this month.
Wonderful.
And I know people who are over 20 years and they are still doing the things they have to do to keep them there.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
I remember the first day your mom spoke to me about you was when I was back on pastoral ground. Your mom spoke to me. She was so desperate I mean, crying. I saw the desperation on your mother's face. And that is how come I decided to follow your mother to the rehab center to see you. Because she was so down about this son. She told me, my son is so intelligent. He went to Legon. He's a first class student and all that. But father, you know, he's on drugs. Then I said, I want to see this your son. And we came there that day.
Yes.
Where were you born? Where did you start life?
Well, I was born in the Upper East region, Bolgatanga. And just when I was about 5 years old, my daddy had a job in the military.
Yeah.
So my mom and dad moved to Bema camp. And I think that is where most of my upbringing was done. And growing up, I would say I had some kind of a checkered life. It was too good at certain times and not too good.
What do you mean by
at certain
that?
times too. So that I wouldn't want to say my family was fully dysfunctional, but sometimes it looked like that, or sometimes it was actually like that, because my daddy was a soldier. He wasn't around most of the time because he had either gone on peacekeeping or something else, on duty or something else. And then it got to some time my mom also had to leave us and go to school. So we were left at the mercies of neighbors and aunties to take care of us. And that is when actually the Kubolo life set in. You know, there was actually nobody to straighten us and all that, you know. So enough.
Even though you were in the camp.
That was where I had my primary education, and a bit of it in Bema Camp GHS, formerly known as Complex. And then after, so it was terrible then. You know, the school life, those times, it was really terrible. Yes. So that was partly part of it. You see, there are a lot of things that played into me becoming a drug addict and an alcoholic.
We'll gradually come there.
Yes.
But I want to know, whilst you were in senior high, what program did you read?
I read general arts.
General arts.
Yes, the combination.
So what was your dream then?
Well, my dream was to become a lawyer.
A lawyer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
the combination was government, elective maths, geography, economics, and.
You're a very brilliant student.
Yes,
because your mom is a teacher.
Yes.
So I'm sure maybe she did a lot of tutorials at home for you, or
yes,
you picked from her because your mother speaks good English too.
Yes, I did actually. So I even though that was just about when I was getting into it, I was still able to make a grade, and then I transitioned into
even in the university. You were still doing well.
Yes.
You became a TA even in the university.
Exactly.
So that tells how brilliant you were.
Yes, but you know, it got to some point I realized that it wasn't just about that anymore. You know, I was just wasting away because I knew people who were higher than me in terms of credentials, and they were worse than me in terms of using drugs and alcohol. So I realized that it's not about who you are or what you can do. Once you are a drug addict, you are going down no matter who you are. Yes.
So, but did you get to read law when you went to university?
Well, I didn't read law when I went to university during my addiction days, but currently I am reading law.
Currently I'm reading law. So you're still pursuing the course to be a lawyer?
Exactly.
I know you can make it.
By the grace of God.
You will be my personal lawyer.
Thank you.
Anyway, so it looks like the use of drugs and drugs started when you were in SHS or senior high.
Yes.
So how did it start? When was the first time? How was the pressure in school?
Okay. So, you see,
do you remember when exactly, whether Form 1 or 2 or 3?
Yes, I do. You see, when they say somebody is a drug addict or an alcoholic, there are various stages. And being the alcoholic or the drug addict is just one stage of the using. So that it is not immediately when you start to become a drug addict. Immediately when you start to become an alcoholic. No. So there are various stages. For example, the experimental stage, whereby out of curiosity you want to try because you have heard a lot of things about a particular substance, maybe alcohol or weed, especially weed. You have heard when you smoke weed, you walk on the clouds. When you smoke weed, you get high. You don't know what that feeling of high is. You are curious. You want to try. That is the experimental stage. Then you graduate to the circumstantial stage. When there's an occasion, you want to do it because everybody is doing it in a party. You graduate to the abuse. Then you don't have to wait until there's a party before you do it. And now to the final stage, addiction, whereby you become dependent on it. You know.
So it means that from what we are talking about now, we have 4 stages. I
Yes.
want us to note these ones. I mean, parents who are watching, youth who are watching, 4 stages. So the first one is the experimental stage.
experimental
The
stage.
second one is the occasional stage.
Yes.
So experimental stage where the person want to experiment.
Yeah,
to-
just out of curiosity. That's usually the first time.
Okay.
And it is usually at that stage which determines whether you move up the ladder to become an addict or an alcoholic. Because at that stage, it's going to be different for both of us.
Okay.
If you take it, you may feel so uneasy, so uncomfortable with the feeling that you may not want to visit it
Okay.
again. But if I take it, I may feel so elated, so excited, so happy that I may want to visit it again. So you will stop at that stage.
Okay,
I will
I will
continue
continue.
and get to that stage of addiction.
So is it
And that
possible? Okay, continue.
that is how I got to the stage of addiction, and I started experimenting at a very early age because unfortunately my daddy was a terribly chronic alcoholic.
So what is that to mean? That your daddy was a chronic alcoholic, had an effect on you. So you started
Yes.
with
With alcohol.
You started with alcohol,
alcohol.
not with
Not
weed or.
not weed, with alcohol. So it's
But,
so
but that
happened
started in school, not at home.
at home.
With the drinking, the
Yes,
experimental
the
stage started
drinking
at home.
started at home because sometimes my daddy would get too drunk that he couldn't move to the where the drink was sold to get it anymore.
Okay.
So then he would send me to go
Oh,
and buy
okay.
it. And then I would be wondering, usually the bottle there's a little left under it.
Okay,
So I'll be
I see.
wondering what kind of liquor or what kind of liquid
It is that
yes,
daddy wants to take.
that's magic so much. I used to see it as a magic potion because if my daddy hadn't had anything to drink, you couldn't get close to him because he was so angry with everybody and everything around him. But immediately he tasted alcohol, he was lovely. He would dance with you, play music and dance and all that. So anytime I'm going to get the alcohol for him, the little one that was left under, I would say, oh, let me
you
also try it and see if I could feel the magic.
How old were you
too.
by then?
I was around 11 or 12 years.
So that around when you were in primary and or
Yes.
GHS,
Yes. Not GHS, but primary.
primary.
Yes.
But did they know you were doing that? Did daddy know or mommy know?
No, they didn't
didn't
know.
know.
They couldn't have known because it was just too little to.
They didn't suspect you.
They didn't suspect because whatever would be left under the bottle
Was
for
too
the
small.
alcoholic would be too small. Just too little.
So how did you graduate from that small quantity to?
Yes, so when I grew up, I learned all the things about alcohol, and now it started from okay, I want to eat and eat properly. When I
Wow.
get some fufu or some banku, and then I would go get some alcohol for to use as an appetizer or an aperitif, and it was working quite well. So at that time, I wasn't an alcoholic yet. You couldn't call me an alcoholic because I wasn't drinking consistently. I wasn't doing it every day, and I wasn't doing it too much for people to even notice.
Okay.
So that was when little did I know that I was moving from
you're
stage to
graduating.
stage and then crossing the line until I actually crossed that line of no return to the addiction or alcoholism.
So was it difficult to fit in when you go to the senior high, because you had started drinking at home,
Yes.
but
yes.
mommy and daddy didn't know.
Yes.
So when you got to SS and you saw some people or you come across some friends who were drinking, was it
Yes.
difficult to fit in?
It wasn't difficult at all. It was very easy, and that is when I invited the other drug, marijuana. Yes, it was actually in college that I started smoking marijuana.
So how did that come in?
Yeah,
How did you have your first taste, your first experiment?
Yeah, so it was in school, and everybody was, should I say, everybody liked who was the hardest guy and all that. So we all had cliques like squads, and we would
you had
go to
one.
town. Yes,
What
we
was the
would
name of
escape-
your squad?
we would- we would escape, and then we'd go to town and then do all this nasty stuff, and then visit girls, go to the girls' schools, and then try to steal something from someone. It made you look like you are the hard guy and all that. And then after that, we would go and get a joint and then smoke some marijuana and then come back to school, and nobody would notice and all that. So that's the life that I got into, or how I started.
I want to know your first experience. Was it difficult for you or getting you to take your first, marijuana?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
At all,
Were you forced?
Because I wasn't forced. I wasn't forced because I was trying to play tough, we are high, even though I haven't taken it before, all the other
But
guys.
you're not scared?
No, I wasn't scared, because I knew I had actually been around people taking it for some time before I actually tried it.
Okay.
And the first time I smoked marijuana, it was like I just got lost. I just got lost. I wasn't aware of myself
Was it
anymore.
on campus?
Yes.
On campus.
Not on campus, was outside campus.
Outside campus,
But I
but you were in
actually
school.
moved from, I was in school.
Okay.
And excuse me, the feeling was so, I don't know how to describe the first one. And I have come to learn that every marijuana I have smoked after the first one is trying to chase that first feeling, and I never got
It's
it
trying
again. Chase that first feeling that I felt.
Okay.
That is what is happening to every alcoholic and drug addict. They are trying to get that first feeling they got when
But you don't get it.
but they never get it, and that is what they have been chasing, and they may chase it forever in their life, and they will never get it.
So you never get that feeling
You
again?
never get the first feeling, you never get again.
Wow.
Yes.
So, dear viewers, if you are watching us Time with the Youth, tonight we are talking about a brother who is in the recovery process. He was an addict, but is recovering. We've learned today that there's nothing like full recovery, because recovery is a process. And he has just stated that there are four stages for one to become an addict. First, the experimental stage. 2, the occasional stage. 3 is the abuse stage.
Yes.
Then the 4th, you become
The
addiction, where you actually depend on the drug to survive. Wow. So these are the things we are talking about. I'm sure you are all learning, because one way or the other we have children in school, we have friends in school, even not in school, even at home, like he has just said. So we need to pay particular attention to our children at home. Particular attention. I mean, some of the things we are saying may not be all, but at least it gives us a lead to know what to do.
Yes, so Father January, I have known you for almost 7 years now or more, and when I knew you, I remember seeing you one time in the house. When you
The
were
first time we met was at the rehab center. When I came with mommy, we met at the rehab center. That was the first time we met.
Yes. But I don't know if it was you, but I met another.
Yes. You met another seminarian there, I think, either Donatus.
Yes.
I remember. So you stayed with Donatus, yes.
Yes, we actually stayed with Donatus,
Yes.
but there was actually one I saw before Donatus. I was thinking it was
I think it was Cyril. Maybe Cyril.
Yes, it
Because
was
Cyril was also there.
So Cyril will come and say, "Oh, you should say a prayer," and
Okay.
I'm like, I'm already leaving the house to go and get some alcohol and some
Okay.
weed, and then mommy.
So I
would
mean, at that
invite
time
me.
you were still not out of it.
No. At that time, I
Okay.
was still using.
Oh, okay.
Yes, at that time I was still using, and then my mom would invite me to come, and then we'll all pray.
yes,
And
yes.
when Cyril is praying, I'm like, this guy should hurry up so I can go and get my fix. I'm not even paying attention to whatever is going on. And it was so terrible. So my condition was such that sometimes my parents and my family didn't want me around them, because I had become so vile. I had become so aggressive. I had become a liar. I had become a thief, because the money I had wasn't enough to get what I wanted. So I began stealing from my parents, their monies, their phones, their items, So anytime they saw me coming, they got
they have to hide
overprotective. They got overly protective, and all that. And it was really a terrible life, especially my mom. My mom would wake up at night and then pray around 12 midnight, pray and cry. And at that time, to me, she was only making noise and disturbing my sleep, if I was getting any sleep at all.
Yeah.
Because at that time, the only time I wasn't drinking and smoking is when I was sleeping.
Okay.
Yes, and I would prefer to even be drinking and smoking than sleeping.
So you mixed the two.
Yes, so I became what we call dependent on the drug.
Okay.
Everything I had to do, I had to use the drugs and the alcohol before. Even if I had to look you in the eyes and talk to you, I had to be drunk or high before I could do that. So I had become chemically dependent on alcohol and marijuana. Yes.
Wonderful. So, my dear friends, if you have any questions, any contribution, anything you want to know, kindly send us something on the live chat. Meanwhile, we shall put on the crawl the information of the St. Francis Clinic and then the Rehab Center. We have their email, we have their phone numbers running down the crawl. So just watch the bottom of your screen. This information will be rolling down. So if you want to have any further discussion after this, you want to have a private chat with Walter, who is the manager of the Rehab Center, pick the information there. The number is there on the screen. The email is also there, and get in touch. Maybe you have an addict in your house, or you're somebody who is on these substances and abusing them. You can get in touch. Tonight, we want to have 2 sessions. What we are looking at today is the life of an addict, vis-a-vis the life of our brother when he was. Then next week, we shall dedicate time to what goes on at the Rehab Center and how we can help somebody out of that. So we are still in the chat. If you have any question, just put it there. If you have any thing you want to ask, kindly put your questions and I'll read them out and we'll get our head around it. Walter, how was life at, you were in Legon?
Yes, I
Yes.
was.
So how did you cope with drinking and doing the drugs and academics work?
Okay, so I actually
What did you study in Legon?
yes, I actually did my first degree in KNUST. That's where I read land economy for my first degree.
So you did land economy?
Yes, for my
First
first
degree.
Yes, and then I did my master's in continuing education
Okay.
in Legon.
Okay.
And what actually happened was that all during my education I was doing drugs and alcohol, and should I say the alcohol and the drugs, they took away my fear in some way, but they also brought me down, and the downfall was so heavy, because I remember when I was doing my master's in Legon, it was in the drinking bar. The drinking bar was actually my library.
Wow.
Yes, because I would have my glass of.
I can't imagine. You
hard
were
liquor.
studying in there.
Yes, I was studying in a drinking bar. I would have my glass of hard liquor, maybe apeteshi or some bitters. That is apeteshi laced with some marijuana and some herbs and all
Wonderful.
that. And I had gotten so used to the taste of the apeteshi such that I didn't gulp it anymore. I was sipping it like Fanta. I had drunk so much so that I drank for close to 15 years.
Wow.
So I was so used to the taste that I didn't gulp it anymore. I was sipping it like. Let me tell you this experience. I remember when I was appointed as a teaching assistant.
Okay. At Legon?
At Legon.
Yes.
Actually I was.
So it means that all this while your lecturers didn't know, did some get to know at all?
Well, they only suspected, but
Okay.
they didn't know. But it got to a point that they realized that there was something wrong. It was.
But to be appointed or to be given that teaching assistant means that you were very good.
Yes. they
Very
looked
good
at-
at,
Yes. So sometimes I remember I would enter into the exams room about 15 minutes late, and I'll
Wow.
be sweating so much because I'm just coming from the drinking bar and drinking hard liquor. And then I would sweat so profusely and mess up my exams paper. And then professors would be like, "Walter, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yo, I'm fine." And at the end of the day, if anybody had an A in the class, it
was
would be,
Walter.
it was me. So my grades were impressive, but the lifestyle that came with it wasn't. It wasn't commensurative enough. Like it didn't go. It didn't match. So what happened actually was that I excelled academically, and then I became a teaching assistant. Now, after I became a teaching assistant, it was difficult for me to work as a teaching assistant because even though it was the same environment, they were two different things: to be a student and to be a worker.
yes.
So that is when all things messed up, and I wasn't even able to go to work anymore. If I went to work, I would find myself in the bush canteen and I would drink the whole day, and I would go home still smoking. I would pay the taxi driver to let me smoke cigarettes in their car from Legon to as far as around Amasaman, and then I would smoke and get home, drink some more and smoke. So it was just smoking and drinking. That is when I had become dependent on the drug, And I would go to the bush canteen in the morning with the intention of going to get food to eat. It was genuine, but immediately I sat down That was the end. I wouldn't even remember it was because of food I came there. I would drink, go out, smoke, come back, drink, smoke. Before I realized it's evening time, we all close. We go home, I'm still smoking and drinking. So I realized I didn't have a life anymore. I just had to pause, put everything aside and seek help. And my family was running around with me everywhere, to psychiatric wards because they didn't understand what was happening to me. Sometimes I would get so aggressive, I would have to be subdued and taken to a psychiatric ward.
How many siblings do you have? We didn't look at that.
I have a sister.
You have a sister?
But I lived with a few cousins.
Okay.
Yes,
so you're only
along
two?
The line. There was just two of us. And
okay.
At some point, my sister got married and went away. She was taken, and so it was just me and my parents, And that was when the struggle actually became worse because it was just me alone. And my parents, sometimes I got so aggressive, they were afraid of me, and they did everything, almost everything to get me out of it. Sometimes my daddy would be like, okay, if you can't stop smoking the marijuana, buy the marijuana and come home and smoke it right here. He would point somewhere around the house, smoke right here. I don't want to hear the police have arrested you and I have to come to the police station. I won't come. Yes, so come and smoke it in the house if you can't stop. And
your parents were disciplinarians.
Yes,
they
were.
Your mom and your dad are disciplinarians.
Yes, they were actually, and they ran around with me everywhere, even as far as to Nigeria to seek for spiritual help. Yes, and let me share this experience with you.
Okay.
There was when I got the appointment as the teaching assistant.
Okay.
I got so excited. I got so happy. I decided to celebrate. So you can imagine an alcoholic and a drug addict now wanting to celebrate.
Yeah.
So what actually happened was I went to the bush canteen that day, and then I sat down and I started drinking. I had already smoked some weed, so it was now left with the liquor. I started drinking, and I started drinking this sachet liquor called Abensu.
Abensu.
Yes.
I've heard of that one before.
So I was like,
yeah.
They gave me that plastic glass. I was seated, and then I would like cut 4, cut 3, cut. So I didn't allow it to finish. Anytime it's going down, I made them fill it again. Cut 3, cut 4, cut 3. And Father, before I realized, I had drunk 36 sachets.
Wow.
Just sitting down, I had drunk 36 sachets. You see, the last one was even the last one. Before I said, okay, let me take the last one and go. So I asked the lady selling the alcohol to cut 12. 12. And by that time I was already intoxicated. So I was counting that 12. I meant 1 cedi 20 pesos. So like, is it 12? How do you say it in the old currency? So I said, you cut 12. Meaning
12 cedis?
Yes, 1 cedi 20 pesos at the time. Because one was 3 cedi or 4 cedi at the time. Okay. So it was, cut 12. And she also interpreted it as the number of sachets instead of the money.
Instead of 12 cedis.
Yes. Okay. Instead of 12 cedis, she thought it was 12 sachets.
Okay.
So she had changed the plastic and then cut 12
yes.
of them in a jug and brought it.
And that one you didn't even know.
I knew, but I was like, okay, this is money I have used to buy. I can't pour it away, So funny enough, I didn't even sip it though. When I raised the jug to my mouth, I made sure it was empty before I put it down. So now I got up and I wanted to go. When I got up, instead of my leg moving, it was my head that went first.
Wonderful.
So I fell down and then I woke up and then I sat again.
Do you usually go alone?
And I had a blackout. You know what a blackout is?
Yeah.
When you don't remember what is happening to you. So I had a blackout. It was the following day when I had come around again that they were telling me, oh, we bought Coke for you and you drank, and we bought soup for you and you poured it in your dress and blah, 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 blah. And funny enough, that was when I had the appointment as a teaching assistant. When all that was happening, I was having my brown envelope with my appointment letter and my passport photos and everything inside. Okay. And I was supposed to go to the hospital for them to do a medicals and then I don't know what happened. The envelope got missing. So I came back and I was fighting with everybody. They had stolen my appointment letter. So now the celebration had turned into what should I say, a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I got very sad, and I drank some more
Wow.
and smoked some more. So I hope listeners and viewers are taking cue.
Yes.
I got too excited. I wanted to celebrate. I messed up.
Then it became,
After that, I got too sad. I felt self-pity. I wanted to drown my sorrows. I messed up. So we should take note of our feelings. We should be able to tame our feelings at any time. So now I went to the Vice Chancellor's office to report that my appointment letter was missing. And they were all looking at me like, how come? We have been working here for almost 10 years. Nobody has come to us that they have misplaced their appointment letter. Anyway, we'll give you the photocopy. And then they gave me the photocopy. And I was in the house when I had a phone call. Somebody called me that, is your name Walter? I said, yes. Oh, I saw your appointment letter in the back of my car when I was washing it this morning. And so I saw the address and the phone number and everything. That's why I contacted. I've left it at the Legon police station. You can go for it. That is when I remembered that when I was about to cross the road to the hospital, it dawned on me that, see how drunk you are. What if you go to the hospital and the doctor takes your blood sample and says, oh, he drinks too much, don't give him that appointment. So I decided to throw the letter into the next moving private vehicle.
You put it there yourself?
Yes, I actually threw the letter into the next moving private vehicle without the person seeing. And I actually crossed the road and remembered, and I realized I wasn't holding the envelope. I just couldn't think straight because I was just under the influence. I had lost all my sense of inhibition. You understand?
Yeah.
So I was living a very dangerous, reckless, and terrible life when I was using drugs and alcohol. And in all this, sometimes I sat quietly and I had the conviction that there was a way out. There was help somewhere, but I just didn't know how it was going to come. Until I got into rehabilitation and went through a spiritual program that got me here.
So we'll talk about life in the rehab center next week.
Okay.
But I know you are a married man with two beautiful kids.
Yes.
Did you ever? I'm sure you were in a relationship with this lady. I've forgotten the name anyway.
Yes.
How did you manage the relationship? How was she also managing you? That you have two kids. Even when you were in rehab, you had a first one.
Yes.
Was there with.
I sent you some pictures recently.
Exactly. He's a beautiful boy now. How did she manage you? How did you manage her?
It's like, I don't know how to describe it, but she has always been there.
Okay.
Even
though she knew.
She just, it got to a point I was like, do you think I have to stop drinking and smoking? And she said to me, you are an intelligent person. If you have to continue doing something or stop it, nobody should even tell you. So why are you asking me? You know what you have to do. And at that time when I was using, I didn't have the conviction that it was problematic to me. I felt that everything was, maybe I just wasn't lucky with the way I did things. I didn't know that I was sick. I didn't know that it was a sickness. It was a disease. And maybe next week when we come, I'll break down certain facts for our viewers to learn.
Exactly.
That addiction is actually a disease. It's a sickness, like diabetes, that you will have to treat or manage. You can't cure it, but you will have to manage. And all of these things happening to me was so terrible. And she had her own fair share of the terrible life I was living, because sometimes I would get physical with her. I would steal from her. I remember some time when the baby was born and they bought some bathing soap and everything I had to steal some of them, or even steal all of them and take it to a pusher so that I could just have some marijuana to smoke and all that. And it was terrible. She got tired, everybody got tired, even myself, I was tired, at some point I got suicidal, like, what kind of life is this? There's nothing working for me, and that's how it's been with most addicts. I remember at some point I went in front of a psychologist, And then he was writing something on his desk. He happened to be a relative, an uncle. May his soul rest in peace. And then immediately he raised up his head and saw me. He asked me, "What is wrong with you?" And then I told him, "I am going through quarter life."
You are going through what?
Quarter life.
Quarter life.
Yes, quarter life. Quarter life is usually when some people naturally find it difficult to fit into adulthood. So
Okay.
they still have this maturity problems and all.
Okay,
They
so
still
it's called
behave
quarter
childish.
life.
It's called quarter life in psychology.
Okay.
So I told the psychologist I was going through quarter life.
Okay.
And then he looked at me and said, "No, you are not going through quarter life or half life. You are sick. Once you are using a substance, you are sick." And that's the first time I learned my condition, that
Okay,
I
with
could
the
actually
sickness.
be sick. And I'm like, at that time, you would have thought it was spiritual because I wasn't listening to anybody. At the time, I thought I knew it all because I had read a lot about addiction and all that. So I thought I knew it. If I went in front of counselors, I knew what they were about to say.
And you even lectured them, I
Yes, the
guess.
next 3 statements, I knew what they were about to say even before they said it. So I was like, they couldn't show me nothing. But it got to a point I realized that, hold on a second. I told myself, hold on a minute, slow down. If you think you know it all, how come nothing is working for you? That's the only thing that saved me. When I decided to be open-minded and listen to other people. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. There is no harm in trying. Let's try it. So going to the house of St. Francis was just trying one of
Yes,
those,
yes.
and that is how come I got saved. So to those addicts out there, if you are not ready to listen to anybody, then trust me, you are going to remain the same.
Yeah.
If you want to change, you should be able to change. Exactly. Yes.
Walter, let's look at when drugs and then your spiritual life. Were you going to church? Because mommy will always want to go to church and go with you. Daddy will also insist. Were you actually going to church? Were you praying? Were you involved in any church activities? How come that did not even have an influence on you?
Okay. So I was actually a staunch Catholic.
Sure.
Yes, I almost became a mass servant because I know the catechetical instructions.
Sure.
I had attended catechism, confirmation, and all that. And I was the best student,
Sure.
the best catechism students,
Exactly.
and all that. So, I don't know, but somewhere along the line, there is usually a stage in a man's life where there is that should I call awareness of the world around you and the things that are happening. And sometimes if you are not able to sort your thoughts out properly, and if you are not well grounded spiritually, you are going to fall.
Okay.
You're going to say there is no formula in life.
Yeah.
Nothing happens with a formula. Things don't happen the way people expect them. It's not everybody who has passed through this way that has come out the way it's expected to. So you give up in life, and that's when you begin to live a carefree life. And for me, I think that is what happened to me. Now, all these things that I am saying, I'm only speculating that they caused my addiction, but they were actually not the cause of my addiction. Now, if I'm beginning to say I became an addict because my family was dysfunctional. Somebody's family was more dysfunctional than mine, but they didn't become addicts. So what's the point?
Yeah, that's true.
You get my point?
That's true.
So yes, all of this contributed, but I couldn't pinpoint one particular thing that, so it's just God.
Okay.
Somewhere along the line, I felt that I was spiritually bankrupt. I didn't pay attention to my spirituality or my spiritual life. I had given up at some point. No church, no Bible, no nothing. So if I had continued being a good church member, maybe I wouldn't have ended up this way. All those lessons that I learned in the rehab are in the Bible. What we teach people to do in the rehab is a different way of going around the Bible. Prayer, it's a spiritual principle. It's not a religious principle. Christians pray, Muslims pray, Buddhists pray.
Yeah.
It's a so we teach spiritual principles,
okay.
and it is spiritual principles that have gotten me out of my situation and repositioned me to be what I am now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So, dear viewers, we want to thank God for the life of Walter, and God who has brought Walter this far. It has not been an easy journey to those of us who have known him, but we thank God. We give thanks to God. If you have seen one, you will understand what you are talking about. But if you have a son who has begun this, you have a daughter who has begun this, beloved, let you know, be very observant. Be very observant on the children. Yes, it's good. Parents must go out there to work and make some money, but we must know that we have a duty given to us by God to bring up our children. So a little bit of attention, a little bit of care and concern, at least if you're able to detect it very early, it helps to solve the problem. Good. Someone asked a question. If you have any question, please put it on the chat. We'll just ask. Walter, somebody has a question for you. You said your father negatively influenced you. Why didn't you rather advise yourself that you will never be like him? You want to try an answer? I'm sure you said you started this very young, around 11 years.
Yes.
So
yes.
maybe just answer the person. I may top up for you.
So now I have so much respect for my father, because he has been sober for 12 years now.
12 years.
Yes,
wow.
He also stopped. 12 years. He didn't go through rehabilitation and everything. He also stopped, So maybe next week I would explain some of these dynamics.
Okay,
he didn't need rehabilitation. He stopped.
He didn't go to a rehab.
He didn't go to a rehab.
But
he stopped on his own. So sometimes we have what we call a spiritual experience.
Okay.
That is what happened to is it Paul or Saul on his way to Damascus? What happened to him was a spiritual experience.
Yes.
A number of times it occurs. What happened to Lord Kenya is a spiritual experience. What happened to Duncan Williams is a spiritual experience. Maybe next week I'll begin to explain all.
Sure.
But what I went through to get into this position, we call it a spiritual awakening.
A spiritual awakening.
Spiritual awakening. Mine wasn't a spiritual experience. It was a spiritual awakening. I had to practice certain principles and get used to them before I got repositioned. Now, with the issue of my father influencing me, so that, it is neither here nor there. Now, when I was drinking so much and smoking so much and my father was sober, he would always advise me, can't you see what happened to me in the past?
Okay.
Can't you see the terrible life I lived in the military? Can't you see I refused to be promoted because I was doing drugs so much? If you want to become a better person, why are you treading the same path I have taken?
Daddy said that to you.
Yes. And I'll just tell him, okay, you have had your fair share of life. I am doing mine. So just if the time comes that I will stop, I will stop. And it didn't make sense. Everybody who is doing drugs and alcohol are usually not in their right senses.
Okay.
If you have gotten to that stage where you are addicted to it, you have lost your sense of inhibition.
Your sense of
inhibition. Inhibition.
Okay.
Yes. You see, it means you are not yourself.
Okay.
You can't think straight. Your mind is warped. That is why when you stop doing drugs and alcohol, there's something called neuroplasticity. The brain rewires. The brain rewires. The thought patterns of the brain rewires for you to become a better person. Because if you do drugs and alcohol, you're an angry person. You are someone who is full of self-pity, self-loathing, and all of those things. You are discontent in life. You are guilt. You have a lot of guilt and remorse. A whole bunch of things, things that you are.
Good.
So yes, my father influenced. But I don't know. I've forgotten the exact question, but
the question was that if you said Daddy influenced you negatively, why did you tell yourself that you will? Why did you tell yourself you didn't want to follow that path?
Yes, because I wasn't convinced I was even on that path.
Okay.
Everybody smokes and drinks.
Yes.
But not everybody has those problems as an alcoholic or an addict. Next week I would really want the opportunity to break down. It's not everybody who drinks who is an alcoholic.
Okay.
So I've never sat on any platform on TV and radio and say everybody should stop drinking. Alcohol is not good.
Okay.
That is they don't see that they are doing anything wrong. So when you get alarmed, they also get alarmed. So they will be thinking, oh, this is normal. Why are you acting as if I killed somebody? And don't shun them. When you shun them, they feel they don't have that sense of belonging anymore. They feel that the love is not there anymore. Like you don't love them anymore. You wouldn't want them to get closer to you because you have asked them to stop doing what they love to do and they are not stopping. That is rather the time you need to get close to them and seek professional help. So don't come anywhere near the house because you have started smoking marijuana. No. Get close to him. Know the reason why he's doing what he's doing. Seek professional help. Like it's like he's having malaria. Okay. You understand it? So that there is this dynamics when someone is having malaria and other ailments. We tend to treat them nicely. Like you make their bed for them, you warm some water for them to bath, you prepare light soup for those having malaria. Now when the person has the sickness of addiction, you don't want to get close to them. You yell at them, you shun them. You see the dynamics. Meanwhile, it's sickness. They are also
could it be that maybe some of the parents too do not know that it's a sickness?
That's why I'm saying there has to be a lot of education for them to know that these people are sick for no fault of theirs. They are not responsible for their sickness, but they are not responsible for their sickness, but they are responsible for their recovery. They are responsible for the treatment to their sickness. You understand? Okay. So get them the help. Don't shun them.
Okay. Yes. So then what would be your advice also to the youth who sometimes are put under pressure or are going through this challenge? I mean, the addict, so to speak.
Okay. I would want to tell them that...
I want to look into the cameras and talk.
Yes. I would want to let everybody out there know that there are better ways of solving problems rather than using drugs and alcohol. So that if you use drugs and alcohol, it is going to aggravate the problem. There's something we call, for example, Dutch courage or liquor courage. When you take the liquor, yes, it takes away that fear, it takes away that worry, it takes away that boredom. But as soon as the liquor as soon as the liquor leaves your system, you are going to be more bored than you were before you took it. You are going to be more fearful than you were before you took it. You are going to be more terrified than you were before you took it. You understand? So find more lasting solutions to these your feelings than alcohol and drugs.
So find a lasting solution to this problem than alcohol. So today we have learned we are not only looking at alcohol, we are looking at alcohol and then drugs.
Yes.
I mean alcohol and drugs. And these are major challenges for our youth, the growing youth. It's a very big challenge. I grew up among weed smokers and all that. Okay. But fortunately, maybe like you have explained, I do not have feeling for taking these things. I don't know how. Maybe this is the way I am also. I mean, I've been made. But I grew up among drug addicts, weed smokers. In fact, I grew up in the middle of Nima. Right in the center of Nima. Right with alcoholics and then addicts. We saw them day and night. We go to buy cigarettes for them day in, day out. So I'm not somebody who is afraid to get closer to drug addict and all that because I've seen that so many times. Maybe if anything helped me, it rather pushed me away. Like you saw something and it doesn't interest you. It's not a beautiful sight to behold. I mean, to see somebody drunk and all that. Maybe because I saw those things, I was not attracted. But on the other hand, like we said, there were some people I grew up with, whom today I know and I've been told are smoking heavily and drinking badly and all that. Okay, so the thing is that it may not be the alcohol or the substance, but the person. Sometimes also the grace of God. I mean, for me, it's simply the grace of God that saw me here. Other than that, I thought I should be smoking some timber somewhere or something, because where I grew up among addicts. But this is me. Okay. But the grace of God is always there and has been helping us. Our youth out there are facing this big challenge. If you are going through that, you've gone to school and some friends are trying to entice you to let you see that, when you drink, when you smoke, you can learn well. Water is very brilliant. Without smoke, without drink, it's very brilliant. It's very brilliant. But the deception to think that when you are on drugs, when you are on these things, it helps you to become better. I mean, we need to guard against it. Our children are our future. Brilliant person like water. If the parents did not take all the steps they needed to take, perhaps what might have happened to him? And I want to, on this program, applaud the parent of water. I know you personally. And
not to cut you, but
okay.
It got to a time I actually had developed a liver problem because I was drinking and smoking so much.
Okay.
After the liver test function was done, LFT or LTF, whichever one was done, the doctor said, look, your liver is failing because of too much alcohol and drugs.
Okay.
I got scared. I stopped smoking and drinking for only 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yes. So no wonder people say it is spiritual.
Okay.
It is spiritual because they don't understand
yes.
why is it that what is killing you so much is what you want so much in life. And another advice I would like to give to people out there, especially parents, is
Look
that
to the camera.
another advice is that you don't have to tell the addict or whoever is using the drugs and alcohol that it is spiritual. When you do that, you take away the responsibility of doing something about it from them, because they will now say, oh, it's not my fault, it's somebody somewhere who is doing me. So
they put gallon,
they put barrel
in your stomach.
Super, which is nothing to count about. So don't when you tell them it is spiritual, you take away that responsibility of doing something about the process. Oh, it's not my fault, it's somebody somewhere. And that is a perfect excuse to continue doing what they are doing.
Okay.
Yes,
I think that's a very important advice there. So, well, I think we have resolved our sound now. So I'm sure those of you are listening, you can. And let us go and then hit the thumbs up. Like I said yesterday, if you are following us and you're with us, hit the thumbs up so that we know that, yes, we have people who are following us and on the show. I know many people are on the line today. Please hit the thumbs up for me. Let's have a lot of likes this evening. Estella Tambro says, very educative discussion. But unfortunately, the sound is off. But the sound is back now. Estella Tambro. Then Helena Kobla said, thanks. Ami Chagli says, that is grace of God to see you through. Exactly. The grace of God definitely is there working for all of us. My dear youth out there, I know many of us have interesting stories, similar stories. Some of us are now come out of certain things we used to do before. If you want to be on this program to share your story so that the others who are growing up to learn something. Some are going through certain situation today. They feel they are the first people to go through. They think they are the only people going through. Maybe when you come out to come and tell your story, many lives are going to be saved. Maybe that is why God allowed you to go through such a situation. My email is down there. Just send me an email that you want to be on this program. I'll schedule it beautifully and you will be on this program to share your story. genusjanuary@gmail.com. It will be running down the scroll, the crawl on down the screen there. genusjanuary@gmail.com. Just send me a simple mail that my name is so and so. It doesn't matter which parish. Which parish are you now?
Clementina, Blessed Clementina.
Blessed Clementina. So it's not necessarily from Corpus Christi, but whatever story he has is of importance to all of us. So it doesn't matter wherever you are. Just send me a mail, genusjanuary@gmail.com. It will be down there. And then also check out for the House of St. Francis. The email is down there. The phone number is also down there. And then if you want to support the rehab center where Walter is the manager now, he went there as a desperate, person who needed help. And now his situation, maybe they need support from you to overcome them. Like we said, we shall have the second part of this program next week. Water has a lot to teach us. Parents, I'll be very happy if you can get pens and paper to jot certain things down. At least one thing I've learned today, if I will not forget, the 4 stages of alcohol use. First is the experimental stage, 2, the occasional stage, 3, the abuse stage, and 4, the addiction stage. Something I've learned today, and I don't think I'll ever forget this wherever I go. Let us keep for the agiles of Accra, but we can all help to make it a beautiful place. And if you have any addict, if you have anybody abusing substance and you need help, please contact the house of St. Francis. They will definitely make a difference in the life of all who go there. It's not only open for Catholics outside there.
We
Anybody.
have Muslims.
Muslims are there and all that.
Yes.
But thank God we are helping all of them. Okay. Rosina Kolache said, rather recovering addict. Yes, that's another thing also I've also learned, that addicts are always recovering and we don't have full recovery. Walter, Damien, very grateful to have you on the show. Thank you. And I'm sure my youth and then the whole church are very, very happy to have you to give us this insight. Next week, we shall have a part 2 and see what goes into recovery. What goes into recovering. Should I say recovery or recovering?
Recovery.
Recovery,
yes.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Beloved,
You're welcome.
next week, we shall continue. Stay tuned. Keep sharing our link and be a part of this big family. God bless you, Walter.
Bless you.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Have a good night rest. The Lord be with you. May Almighty God bless you all and keep you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Have a good night.